Hello guys, Alan here and welcome to the most authoritative Revit tutorial channel you can ever find on YouTube. And in this series, we are going to be talking about the stair icon in Revit. So it's a series that's going to be all about stairs in Revit. We are going to be discussing how we can actually use the stair to design particularly any stair and how we are going to understand the stair icon inside of Revit. So without wasting much time, I'm just going to get started. Now, before I get started, if you're watching this video and you haven't liked or subscribed to my channel, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be bringing out more tutorials like this. So please make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on lessons like this. So I'm not going to waste much time. I'm going to get started so we can actually find out what this stair icon really entails inside of Revit. So now I'm going to head into the 3D view so you guys see what I did ahead of time before starting the recording of this video. So I just created a floor slab. I just created some, first of all, I just made some, added more levels inside of the software. So you can see in there, you head into any of the elevation views and then you can add in more levels inside in there. So I just added more levels to get to level 5 in there, and then when you head into the 3D view, you can see I just modeled out this monolithic stair in there. So when I click on that, you can see the type in there is monolithic stair, and I'm going to be showing you guys how you can actually create all of this staircase inside of Revit. So I'm going to get started. So you can see in there I just have 5 levels in there, all the way from level 1 to level 5 in there, just that. So I'm going to go back into level 1 and we're going to start. So now to get to your stair icon, you need to make sure you're in architecture tab. Make sure you're on the architecture tab in there, and then you can see this stair up icon in there. You're going to see something like 3 steps. All right, so you can make sure you click on that icon in there, and when you click on that icon in there, you are automatically going into the stair mode on how you can actually draw the stairs inside of Revit. So when you look in the properties panel in there, Revit is automatically going to give you just some families of stairs in there, all right, in 3 main parts. So we have the assembled stair, and then we have the cast in place stair, and then we have the precast stair. So Revit is just going to give you all these families of stairs by default. It doesn't matter the version you are using. I think when I checked the 2025 version, it's literally the same family stairs inside you see in here. All right, so with the assembled stair, we have the 190 max riser, 250 going, and then we have the industrial assembly, we have the part M disabled, all right, and then we have the private stair. When you come down into the cast in place, we have a monolithic stair, and then when you get into the precast stair, we have the precast stair in there, as the name implies. All right, so somebody is going to ask me what precast stair means. So it means that with the stair, with how they are going to assemble this stair, they are going to be manufacturers. All right, so people are already going to manufacture the stair in factories, and then we are just going to carry those stairs and then come and then fix them on site. All right, we're going to fix them on site in there. That's why we call them the precast stair. All right, they're already done, so we just need to go and carry them and come and fix them in there. So I'm going to start off by teaching you guys all the stairs. So I'm going to explain basically each type of stair in each type you see in in each group. So I'm going to take any of them in any of their groups and then explain them. So I'm going to take one stair in assembled stair and explain how you can actually work with that and all the stuff you can do in there. And then I'm going to also talk about the cast in place stair, and then I'm also going to teach you guys how you can actually manipulate that as well, and then the precast stair as well. Now when you head to this ribbon right here, you're going to see we have something we call the location line. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what that actually means. So I'm going to make sure I select any stair in there, and then I'm going to head into my location line. When you click on the drop down menu right beside it, you're going to have exterior support left, and then you're going to have the run left, you're going to have the run center, and then you're going to have the run right. So let me demonstrate how all of this actually work. So I'm going to click on this draw tool in there, which is just a straight flight. So I'm going to click on that, which is just a straight run in there. So you're going to see some hyphenated lines in there. Now we have the run type at center. All right, so you're going to see those hyphenated lines in between or in the center of the stair. So I'm going to click on that, and you can see we have that hyphenated lines in the center of the stair in there. All right, so when I click right there and I change that to left, you're going to notice we have those hyphenated lines on the left in there. All right, when I change that and I bring that to right, you're going to notice we have that on the right in there. All right, those dashed lines are on the right, so that's actually showing your location line on how you're going to draw that stair out. So you can see I have that on the right in there. If I should change this and bring it on exterior support, so it's going to be on the exterior support line in there. You're not really going to see it work in the monolithic stair, but if I were to change that and use an assembled stair, which is the wooden stair, you're going to see that it's actually going to be on the support in there. All right, so now I'm going to escape out of that. When you head into the next command in there, we have the offset 2. We have the offset 2 in there, which is this 0.0 in there. So we have this offset 2. Now what this offset 2 actually does is, if I should place any number in there, so let's say if I should offset my stair 500, all right, away from that location line. All right, so it's going to offset 500 millimeters away from the location line. Let me demonstrate that for you guys to see what we have in there. So when I click in there, and you can see I had the location line at the center, but now it's moved to the side or the right side because I've offsetted 500. All right, and you can see our actual run width is 1000 millimeters. So it means that in between the staircase in there is 1000, and then I've offsetted 500, so it's going to go all the way to the right side in there. So if I should offset, so let me keep this at the right, and then it's still offset 500. So you can see that the location line, all right, is moving away from the staircase 500 millimeters away in there. And then we have our actual run width, which is 1000 millimeters in there, as you can see. So we have that in there as well. So you can see that we've moved 500 millimeters away from the staircase in there. Now when you move to the next 2 in there, you can see we have automatic landing. All right, it's always going to be checked. It's very, very important. So I'm going to keep all of this at 0, and then I'm going to keep this at the run center. So I'm going to come back into the default mode. So now if I should create a stair, so you see we have automatic landing checked in there. Now Revit is automatically going to create a landing for you if you should cut in between your straight flight stairs. So we are moving all the way from level 1 to level 2. So let me demonstrate that so you see in there. So now when I move up, you notice I have an inscription written below in there, an inscription below. Just focus down there. You're going to see we have 8 risers created, 9 more risers remaining. So if I should click in there, and then I should just move my mouse pointer up above, so I need to make sure my location line, all right, is actually at the center. And then if I should click in there, and then I should create those 9 risers remaining, you're going to notice Revit is going to automatically create a landing in between that staircase for me. So if I should head into the 3D view, you can see Revit is automatically going to create that landing in there. Now let me head back into level 1. If I should draw that and then make sure this is on check, all right, if I uncheck the automatic landing and then I draw that in there, so 8 risers created, and let me continue to draw that, 9 more risers remaining, and then I move this. Okay, so let me just delete that out of the way and create that staircase in there. So if I should draw this, 8 risers remaining, and then I continue to draw in there, 9 more risers remaining in there, it's not going to create a landing for me in that case. All right, Revit is not automatically going to create a landing for me. So if I should move all these risers, it's not going to create a landing for me since I've unchecked the automatic landing in there. So it's not going to continue to create that staircase in there. So I'm going to delete that. And so you need to make sure you always have this automatic landing checked in. It depends on whatever you are designing. So if you are designing and you don't need to have a landing, you can uncheck that to actually do that in there. So I've done explaining everything in here. We have our location line, our actual run width, which is in between the staircase in there, which the division or between that staircase in there, you know, our actual run width is 1000 millimeters. Now this is actually going to be to your building regulation code by your country. All right, every country has their own building regulation code, so you need to check your building regulation code and actually design to fit that in there. So some building regulation codes in some countries are not going to use 1000 millimeters, some are going to use 1200 millimeters for a residential building. All right, so the place you can actually put your building regulation code is if you head into the edit type of that family staircase in there. When you come into the calculation rule, that is where we are going to actually put in your building regulation code. So I'm going to be talking more about the calculation rule in the next part of this staircase design in there. So I'm going to talk more about that in the next part. So I'm going to cancel that out of the way, and then I'm going to finish this staircase in there. All right, so I'm going to talk more about the other staircase. So let me just move this down. Let me move this down to somewhere around in here. This is perfect. Leave that there and get back into my stair icon. So we've created, I'm going to talk about all these draw tools in there. So we are done with the first straight line, where you can actually just create a staircase by just going in a straight flight. All right, so this is just going to be a straight line run staircase in there. So let me just finish that. So that's how you create a straight flight run. It's just straight up ahead in there to the direction that you want. You need to be careful about that. You need to know that it's going to be to the direction that you want in there. So you can see it just starts from level 1 and goes all the way up to level 2 in there. So let me just move this. I don't want it going closer in there. This is perfect. Come in here and you can see it in there. So we have this staircase moving all the way from level 1 all the way up to level 2. So let me turn this to the right. You can see it ends all the way up to level 2 in there. So back into level 1 and get back into our stair icon, and we have the next draw tool, which actually creates a spiral staircase. All right, so this is a full step spiral staircase. So when you click on that, what you have to do now is you can just click in there, and when you click in there, it's going to create a circle. All right, so it's going to move with the radius of the circle. So it depends on the kind of design you're having in there. So you can see in there our radius of the circle enlarges when I move my mouse pointer. All right, so I'm going to keep this at, I'm going to create a more spiral staircase. So I'm going to keep this as 1000 millimeters in there, and you have that spiral staircase created in there. So I'm going to finish that out of the way, and perfect, it's finished. So I'm going to head into my 3D view, and you can see in there we have that spiral staircase in there from level 1 moving all the way up to level 2 in there. So let me get back into level 1. When you click on this staircase, let me just click on this edit stairs in there. So you can click back on the stair, and then you are going to notice we have it highlighted in blue. All right, so now you can see we have this dot in there. So when you extend this dot, it's actually going to add more steps or more rises in there. So you can see it says 17 plus 2. It means that we've added 2 more rises in there. And if I should finish this, Revit is going to give me a warning sign that I'm going above my building regulation in there. All right, it's not going to fit from level 1 to level 2. So we have that in there as well. And then when you click on this arrow right beside it, it's actually going to move the entire staircase. All right, it's not going to add rises. When you click on that arrow in there, it's just going to move the entire staircase, and you can move that to fit to the orientation of the particular stair that you want. So I'm going to move all this back to our 17 steps in there. So when you check in your properties panel, you're going to see we have the desired number of rises, which is 17 in there. So that is what it's telling us in there, which means that we are going to be creating 17 rises in there. Now you can actually change that to any number that you want, but when you change that, Revit is going to give you a warning that you are going below or above your maximum riser height, which is your edit type. And when you come in here, which is your maximum riser height, Revit is going to tell you that. So if you should change that, it's going to give you a warning. So I'm going to talk more about this in the next part in there. So cancel that out of the way, and then when you see this plus sign, it's actually going to move the entire staircase to exactly the point that you need that in. So I'm going to finish that staircase in there and head into the 3D view, and then you can see we have that staircase in there. Let me just cast some shadow on our staircase in there. Okay, so this is perfect. So Revit automatically also creates railings inside, and I'm going to create a whole new series talking about railings inside of Revit. So Revit is going to create those railings walking alongside on those staircase in there, which is actually perfect. So I'm going to head back into level 1 and then click back on my stair icon. You can make sure you save your project in there, so I'm not going to save that project. So when you move back in there, you're going to get into the center end spiral. All right, when you click on that center end spiral, so this is actually a very tricky staircase. Trust me, guys, things are going to move from a simple mathematics to a rocket science maths. So it's a very tricky staircase in there. When you play around with it consistently, I'm very sure you're going to find a way to actually create beautiful staircase with that particular draw tool in there. So when you click on this draw tool, it's going to come off like a spiral staircase. So when you click on that in there, you're going to have something like the spiral staircase in there. And then when you click on that, you have the opportunity to actually create the number of risers you need in there. All right, so you can see when I move my mouse pointer, I'm creating those risers in there. So we have 6 risers created, 11 remaining. I'm going to stop at this, 10 remaining. Okay, let me just move to 8 remaining. All right, so I'm going to click in here, and then when you click in there, you have the opportunity to create a landing of a staircase in there as well. So you can click here, and then you can add the remaining risers in there. So this staircase is a quite tricky staircase in there. It's very tricky staircase in there. So when you play around with it a lot, you can actually get to create beautiful staircase in there. And let me just cancel that. I want them to join, so you can finish that in there. And this is perfect. Let me head into the 3D view. You get the opportunity to create stairs of a spiral staircase and also add some landing in there for your staircase, which is actually very beautiful. So you guys can play along with that. It's a very tricky staircase, so just play along with that, and then you can create very beautiful staircase with that draw tool in there. So I'm going to move this to join with those other staircases in there, since we are talking about staircases in there. So I'm going to click back on my stair icon, and then you're going to have this half turn in there. So with this, is automatically just going to create the staircase without a landing. All right, so it's going to create a quarter turn staircase. All right, so it's not going to have a landing, just a half turn staircase in there. So when I click and then I place that in there, it's just going to automatically create that staircase in there. So if I should finish that, it's not going to give you the opportunity to create a number of risers. All right, itself is going to calculate that and place that staircase in there. So you're not going to have the opportunity of creating a landing in there as well. So let me head back into level 1. Head back into level 1. All right, so this is what you can get with the quarter turn staircase. All right, so when I get back in there and I click on my stair icon, and then I move to the final U-shaped winder stair. All right, with the U-shaped stair, it's also going to come off like the half turn. All right, the quarter turn is going to come off like that staircase. So when you click that in there, you're not going to have the opportunity to create a number of risers before a landing. Itself is going to create all those staircases in there for you to from the start to the finish. So when you finish that out of there, and when we head into the 3D view, you're going to notice we have that staircase in here, which is perfect. So moving all the way from level 1 up all the way to level 2 with a U shape in there. All right, so if I should get back into level 1 now, someone is going to ask me, how did you create this staircase here with the landing? It's very simple. So when you get back into your stair icon in there, and then you just have to make sure you click on this straight run staircase in there, and then when you click on that straight run in there, I like to make sure I keep all those risers on an even number. So if I have 8 risers created, I want to make sure I have also an even number, another 8 risers remaining for the other staircase. Now I can only do that if I change the number of risers, so I'm not going to do that now. I'll teach you guys in the next part of this video. So I have, let me just keep that at 9 risers created, and then I have the remaining 8 risers created in there. So when the only way you can do that is when you create the first run. All right, when you create the first run and you click that in there, you need to make sure you move your mouse pointer to the side, having these dashed lines showing. And then when you have it showing in there, and with respect to the dimension it's giving you up there, if you are fine with that, you can click on that, and then you can finish that staircase in there, and then you can just click on that finish too, and then we have that staircase in there. So Now, how we can also create this quarter tent, this half staircase with a landing at the middle. So let me show you guys that as well. So when you click on the stair icon, and then you just move a first run in there. So we have 9 risers. I'm not going to use this side, all right? I'm going to make sure I use this side, all right? So I can click on that in there. Let me just keep this at 500. I can click on that, and then I can create that staircase, the remaining in there. So with this, I have a first run, and then I have a landing, and then I can go in here also with another run in there. So this is how we create this staircase in there as well. And when you get back into your stair icon, all right, we have this tool in there, which is the create or the sketch tool for a staircase. So I'm going to be talking about this sketch tool in there. It's very tricky but very, very simple. If you guys could just follow along with this video, you're going to understand the sketch tool on how you can actually draw your own staircase inside of Revit in there. So when I click on this sketch tool in there, Revit is automatically going to divide the creation of your staircase into 3 parts. All right, it's going to divide it into 3 parts. We have the boundary, we have the riser, and then we have the stair path in there. All right, so we are first of all going to start with the boundary in there. So you can just create a boundary in there for your staircase. So you can decide to use this. So I'm just going to create a straight run staircase in there. So I'm just going to create this staircase. Let me just keep that at 3000, and you can just copy that. Click on that, select that, and then you can just copy 1000 millimeters of that staircase in there, and just click on the staircase. All right, so we have that, enter. So we've created that 1000 millimeters in between that stairs in there. So now we've created our boundary in there. So we know that we have a boundary here and a boundary here, since we are creating a straight run staircase. All right, a straight one flight going all the way up to level 2. So now the next thing we need to create is our risers. All right, so we can click on that riser in there, and then we start off by creating our risers. So you can click in there and then create those risers in there. Let me just make sure I create the first and the last riser in there, and then you can just divide that in there. So you can just divide, just create those risers in between in there. So you can just click on that, create all those risers in there. Now you notice my risers are not going to be equal in terms of width with the spaces in between here. I'm sure the space in here is going to be different than this and this. So I'm going to show you guys how you can actually make sure all those are all even in there. So you can just place in more risers in there. So just place in more risers in there. Just place in more risers. Now you need to make sure the black lines loop are actually, you need to make sure they are actually snapping with the green lines. All right, else Revit is going to give you a warning in there. So you need to make sure those black lines are snapping together with those green lines. So I'm going to stop here, and what you can do to actually equal all those risers in there is by clicking on this dimension tool right there, and then we can just pick all those risers in there. So just make sure you pick all those risers, in there. You notice we don't have the same dimension in there, but we need to have the same dimension. So this is how we are going to solve that problem. So just make sure you pick in between all those risers in there. This is very small, so just click on that and click on that, and then you can move those dimensions to the side. Now you notice we have this EQ in there. So what you can do is you just make sure you select that, and then Revit equals all those spaces in there, and which is perfect, and then we can delete that sign in there. So now what we need to create is the last part is our stair path. You can see we have an arrow in there showing the stair path. So the last thing we need to create is our stair path. So you can click on that stair path in there, and then you can create your stair path. So I'm going to start from the top in here and then move all the way down in here as well. So we are done with our stair path, and I think we can finish that staircase in there. And then you notice we have that staircase created in there, which is 1 to 17 risers. So you can finish that, and Revit is also going to automatically add railings in there. So this is our staircase we created by using the sketch tool in there. All right, so this is perfect in there. You can actually get every kind of staircase to a sketch mode. All right, so if I have this staircase in here, I can actually convert this into a sketch mode. So what you can do is you can just click on that, staircase. You can just select that staircase in there, just click on the staircase and then head straight into edit stair. All right, when you head back into the edit stair, you can just select that staircase in there, and then you can click on this convert to sketch base. So when you click on it, Revit is going to give you a warning that when you convert to the sketch base, you cannot come out of that unless you finish editing. So you notice it says converting an automatic landing or a run component into a custom sketch mode component is irreversible. You can edit the sketch of a custom component. So when you click on that and then you convert that into a sketch mode in there, you can just make sure you convert that into a sketch mode in there. It's irreversible, just as what Revit gives you that warning in there. So you can actually convert that in there. Now I'm going to head into the 3D view and I'm going to show you guys how we can actually flip a staircase. So let's say if we want it to flip itself in there, what you can do is you can just select that staircase, get into edit type, and then you can select that and then you can flip it in there. So you notice it flips the orientation of the staircase in there, so we can flip this to the other side and then flip this to the other side. So you can apply this for any kind of staircase you have in there. If you do not want the orientation on where exactly it is, you can actually flip that also in there. So now let me use this to actually demonstrate how we can get this staircase to all these levels, or creating a multi-story staircase in there. So let me head back into level 1, and this, we have that staircase in there. So what you can do is you can just make sure you select that staircase in there, and then you can head into this ribbon, and then you make sure you click on select levels. So Revit is going to tell us we need to get into a view on actually how we can create that. So you can go into any of the elevation views, but I'm going to use the 3D view. So you can see in there we have level 1 and level 2 grayed out. So we have the opportunity to create more staircase from level 3 all the way up to level 5. So you can just make sure you select all those levels in there, and then you can finish that, and then Revit automatically creates a multi-story staircase all the way up to the 5th level in there. So you can see when you click in there, it creates that staircase in a group. All right, so now let me show you guys, you don't need to actually create one staircase to be able to create all this multi-story. You can actually do that while creating the first one. So let me head into level 1 and then get back into my stair icon in there, and I'm going to change the number of risers to 16. Now you notice I have a running, right? It says I'm going greater than my maximum riser height, just like I said. So I'll be explaining that in the next part of this video. So you can just create in there. So I have 8 risers created, 8 remaining, so I can move my mouse pointer in there, and then I can create this to end in there. And then when you move to the top in here to this ribbon, you're going to see we have connect to levels. All right, you can click in there, and then you can head into any of the elevation views. I'm going to use the south elevation for example. For this example, click in there, and then you can finish that, and then we have that multi-story also created in there. You can see it's created also in there as well. So now someone is going to ask, how am I going to be able to edit? Maybe if I want to edit just this staircase, all right, I'm not going to touch all of this. So it's a very simple thing. It's pinned all of them together and created a multi-story. So what you can do is just hit on the tab key on your keyboard, and when you notice just one staircase is selected, I can see that one is selected now. I can actually just click on that, and then I can unpin that in there, and then I can edit that particular staircase in there. So you can manipulate that and actually edit just that single one in there. So I'm not going to do any edit in there. So this is how we create those multi-story staircase in there as well. That's how we create those multi-staircase also in there as well. Now let me get back into level 1, and then I explain this before I end the lesson for this part, and then we move to our next part inside of Revit. So I'm in level 1. I'm going to click on my stair icon, and if I should uncheck this automatic landing in there, and then I should create a staircase and just create another staircase to the other side in there. You notice when I finish that, Revit is giving me a warning I do not have a landing in there. So if I should head into the 3D view, this is what I have in there. So if some of you should have that unchecked, so what you can do is you can head back into the stair icon in there, and then you'll notice we have this landing tool right beneath the run. All right, so when you click on the landing tool, you have the opportunity to pick 2 runs. All right, so you can see in there we have 2 runs or we can sketch that in there, just like so. With this sketch tool, it's just going to be basically like how you draw floor slabs inside of Revit. It's just going to be the same way on how you draw floor slabs. So I'm going to use the automatic pick two runs, select this run and select this run, and Revit creates that landing in there for me, and I can finish that, which is perfect in there. So you can see we have that staircase also created in there as well, which is perfect. So I'm going to end here. I'm going to continue in the next part, in our next part of this video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. You don't want to miss out on the kind of lessons we'll be putting out on Revit inside of YouTube. So you don't want to miss out on the lessons I'll be dropping in the coming weeks. So make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Turn on the bell notification panel so you don't lose on when I drop any of my videos in there. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I'll catch you guys in the next part. Peace out.
I'm still working real hard on a Saturday. A future I don't see from a mile away.